Well, this hasn't happened before. President Trump today went to the U.S. Supreme Court to sit in on oral arguments in a historic case that could upend who's qualified to be a citizen.
And that case hinges on the 14th Amendment and whether it guarantees citizenship to those born in the U.S. Fox's Katie Barlow reports from Washington, D.C.
There are a number of ways the Supreme Court could decide this case, but it appears a majority of the justices are skeptical of the Trump administration's argument. Trump wants to deny citizenship to anyone born on U.S. soil from someone who is here either illegally or temporarily. Now, the 14th Amendment, which was ratified after the Civil War to grant slaves and their children citizenship, has long been understood to grant citizenship to nearly everyone born on U.S. soil. A key swing vote and Trump appointee Justice Brett Kavanaugh asked pointed questions of both sides, but he suggested at one point it could be a very simple decision in favor of the ACLU if the court simply affirmed its decision from over a century ago in a case called Wong Kim Ark. There, the court said the child born on U.S. soil to two Chinese nationals was a citizen.
I think we have a very clear accounting to at least 5 defending the traditional view of birthright citizenship, the view that people have understood Wong Kim Ark to have upheld, which is that almost everyone born in the United States soil, with rare exceptions like the children of ambassadors, are automatically U.S. citizens. We come into this case in an unusual posture, effectively knowing 3 of the votes, because the 3 Democratic appointed justices already said what their views are on this issue in the CASA case, where the court ruled on the propriety of nationwide injunctions. So really you only need 2 votes in addition to that.
There were also practical questions about how Trump could implement his executive order that was issued on day 1 of his second term. The government's position turns on whether someone in the United States has a domicile here. Domicile is a legal term of art, meaning someone who lives here and intends to stay. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, a Biden appointee, asked the government if they plan to bring pregnant women in for depositions to determine if they plan to remain here. The Solicitor General said no. Trump appointee Justice Amy Coney Barrett pointed out that determining whether someone has a domicile in the United States can often be a tough question that gets litigated and even goes to trial. She said you're not going to know for some people at the time of birth whether they plan to stay here. How would it work to verify if someone is domiciled here? The Solicitor General said agencies could provide clear guidance on how to do that. We can expect a decision in this case by late June or early July.